Hello and welcome. My name is Salazar-Turner, and this is the UpRock Podcast. In the first half of this second podcast, we'll hear more of my interview with Stixx, our featured UpRock Teacher of the Month. In the second half, we'll dive into the world of the open mic by speaking to a couple of people who regularly attend them. It turns out I didn't have to go too far to find them. But first, here's more of Stixx.
I was playing for the choir before I took lessons.
Right.
And
Right.
I just watched the drummers, as most church drummers do.
Mm-hmm.
You show up to church every week and you just watch all the other drummers.
It's all observational.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you just try your best to duplicate that when they give you a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And because I wasn't so good, I had to make sure that I would play what I knew I could play.
Right.
So don't try to go crazy. Don't try to do nothing extra.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I did, which I did a few times, like 3 or 4, I got off beat in front of 200 people.
That happens.
It was quite embarrassing. And I've been raised up off the kit twice. One in front of 200 people, another one in front of like 500 people. And that was the culture. That's just what
Right.
happens. Like if you're up there and you're not sounding good,
Right.
if there's another drummer in the
They'll
audience,
take your spot.
oh yeah, they'll walk up, hey, I'm on. And they
Mhm.
just grab the sticks from you.
Right.
Sometimes the choir director will signal. They'll be like, hey, switch. Just go
Wow.
get up there. And so you only have 2 options. You can fold up, cry, go in the corner like, I'm never going to play again. Or you could take that as a moment to say, you know what, I'm going to go home and practice.
Exactly.
Learn this song, and I'm making sure you don't ever raise me up like that.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I took that approach.
Mistakes are a very necessary thing in every musician's development. I always tell all my students that, don't be afraid to make mistakes, and especially in front of an audience, because you learn what not to do. Especially when you're in front of an audience, you'll never make that mistake again.
Of course.
That is, of course, as you said, if you take the initiative to go and refine yourself and fix the mistake and come back even harder the next time.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well
man.
said. That's what it is. I mean, I know some people who do fold up, and they're just kind
Sure.
of like,
We've all seen them.
yeah.
It's unfortunate to watch.
They can't handle the pressure, but I actually work better in that way. I
Right.
rather you give me constructive criticism than tell me good job, or tell
Right.
me, bro, you was killing. Oh, you was a beast. I'm like, nah. I rather hear the guy that goes, hey, listen, I loved what you did today, but on that one song, when you went to the bridge, you went to the ride, hey, it kind of sounded like you was, second guessing yourself on the ride. Whatever you decided to do, that's what I want to hear. I don't
Right.
want to hear, oh, dog, killing, best drummer ever.
Of
Stop
course.
it.
I mean,
Like,
that gets old.
yeah, it's awful.
I mean, I hate to say it, but yeah, I mean, that gets old.
Like, man, hey, bro, man, you just be up there killing it. And I'm like, all right, it's cool. I appreciate the comment. I'm not knocking the comment, but I know that I'm not where I want to be. Okay?
Right.
So-
right.
I rather hear, and it's when it comes from people who are not musicians, I accept it wholeheartedly. Like, oh yeah, thank you, I appreciate it. I'm not the best, but I appreciate the comment. I'm glad you feel that way. But when it comes from fellow drummers, fellow musician friends, I would, man, just keep it real with me, man. Like, I embrace constructive criticism, because all I'm gonna do is take it, go home, practice, and be better. That's it.
Of course. Yeah, and shedding is a very important part. You have to be able to just sit down and work on whatever it is. What would you say, aside from that, just dedication to practice, what would you say makes a good student? What's the best student you would hope to have? Well, maybe not that, because we'll never have the perfect student.
You never had the perfect.
But what makes a good student?
Will make honestly, first thing is a student who listens.
Right.
That goes, man. I have some students they don't listen. Some people come in there and they're playing around, hopping around. I've had that. I've had people let me not say that. Grab my phone because it's on the table in between the drum sets, and they're going through stuff, and I'm like, whoa, wait, we're here for a drum lesson.
Exactly.
Let's act like this is something serious, which it is.
It's supposed to be, at
It's
least.
supposed to be. Your parents pay for you to be here. I mean, do you do this in school? And if you do this in school, oh my God, I don't know how your teacher makes it. But like a kid who listens,
Right.
or even if it's an adult, I've had adult students too. Like,
Really?
if you're open to listening, I'm gonna listen to you too. But when it comes to some adults that I've taught before, they would over talk. I've had, like, my oldest student was 56 at one time. And I understand that he's older than me, so he knows a little bit more about life than I do.
Right.
But he's only been playing drums for a couple years, and I have been teaching for almost 5 or 6. So I'm like, oh, well, just a small example, well, when you approach this song, you should go blah, 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 yeah. In the middle of me talking, he's just like, yeah, man, I played this gig the other day, and woo, woo. And I'm like, okay, but that has nothing to do with this song, because this song is for the church that you play at. You're asking about a song for the church. Then you start talking about this gig that you play with cover band at Thunder Valley. I'm like, okay, you're not listening. You're just talking. Okay. So my first pet peeve is listening. Like, please.
Yeah,
just
it does make it hard to stay on track if whoever you're working with, whether it be a colleague or another musician that you're in a band with, or a student, or whatever it is, it does make it incredibly difficult to stay on track if just the other person is all over the place. If their head's in the clouds.
Man, and you would think it comes more from the kids,
right? You would think,
because my youngest student that I've ever taught was 3 and a half, and my oldest, like I said, was 56. So I've had a wide range of students.
That's quite a range.
The adults, 21, 25, 33, 40. I'm just like, yo, man, you can't focus? Like, just listen. I'm going to listen to you, but we're talking about this one particular subject, and then you're going off to the races. Don't get it twisted. The kids, too, I usually expect that from a 6 or 7-year-old, right?
Of course.
But after a while, I like to buckle down. Like, all right, you're here to learn drums. I'm going to teach you some drums, right? And so that's the first thing. The second thing, of course, would be the standard practice. Please practice. Please work on what I give you, because the most fulfilling thing as a teacher, and I'm sure you can attest to this because you teach as well, is it's not the money. Don't get it twisted. We love the money.
Yes.
Like, we like making money. We definitely do. But the most fulfilling thing is seeing progress.
Right.
So if you don't practice, I don't see the progress. And then it just becomes a babysitting session, and I'm just in here just watching you for 30 minutes.
Right.
As opposed to
making progress.
Right. Teaching you something new, because, you got that down? Cool. Now we can move on to this, because you actually needed that. You needed to know what 8th notes are so that we can go to 16th notes. You need to know what 16th notes are so we can go to 30 seconds. You need to know what quarter note triplets are so we can go to 8th note triplets, so on and so forth. So if there is no practicing, there's no progress.
Right.
If
there's no progress, there's almost no point.
Right. I lose interest.
Right.
I just be like,
right.
All right, yeah, okay. That's how I am.
Right.
And so
the way I've seen it said before is that teachers aren't in it for the income, but for the outcome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that sums it up.
But anybody that's listening to this, the income definitely helps. Okay? Please do not take this interview as a sign to go, hey, you know what? He said outcome, so I'm coming for free. No, listen, we got bills to pay as well.
Yeah, you said outcome, so they're coming out.
They're going to come out for the outcome. Like, nah, listen, we do need to pay our bills. We need to eat.
Yeah, we do need some income, so go ahead and come on in.
Come on in, okay? Open your wallets first, and then let us – no, I'm kidding. Kind of.
Kind of. So then on the flip side of that, then what makes a good teacher? Because, a lot of people spend a lot of time – working on their craft, whether it be art or music or even technology or whatever it is, all the different fields in the world. What makes a person qualified to be a teacher? What makes a good teacher?
Well, that was two different questions. You said qualified, then you said.
That's true.
Okay, so
you can answer that in whichever order you desire.
Let me go with, or qualified, you got to know what you're talking about.
Okay.
You got to know what you're talking about, and you have to know how to explain it. And the way that you explain it is many different ways. There are some people who are super technical, and that is fine. But there are some people who are not so technically sound, because that's not how they learned. That's not how they were taught. But as long as you can pass the information to where the student can understand it, you're qualified to teach. Now, what makes a good teacher is a teacher that can meet the student where they're at. Okay? Teach them in a way that they're going to get it. Don't just do your own way. Like, okay, when I first came in, I started with quarter note page. That's what it is. And then we do quarter notes on the snare. Then we go to page 2, and it's eighth notes on the snare. It's like, yeah, there's some students that start like that. Then there's some students that start with the, hey, play this, and they can do it. So then you need to start there. Then there's some students that I've taught where they're a little bit more advanced in their grooves. So they'll play like some 16th note grooves between the, well, actually not even 16th note on the hi-hat. It'd be 16th notes on your snare, like ghost notes and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, let's start with that first, and then we'll dial it back, because you do need to go back to the basics. But with what you can already do, I'm going to start there. By that, I mean, let me play it real quick, actually.
Sure.
So some students will start with a groove. They'll come in off top and be like, that's the 16th note that I'm talking about.
Right, I hear that one a lot.
Right?
Right.
So I'm like, okay, let's start there. First thing we need to do, we need to quiet all those snares. There's no reason why you should have 19 snares all at the same volume. So now let's work on dynamics. So I feel like, yo, just that alone is going to make you sound like a better drummer. You're not going to sound like an amateur kid that's just coming in playing loud snares.
Right.
Like instantly when you hear that, you're like, there's a kid.
So you're catering to the feel-based portion of their playing. Then if that's how they learn.
If that's how they learn, it's like, yo, what can you already do, and how can we better that? How can we enhance that? Don't get it twisted. We're going to go back to the basics, especially if they don't know how to read quarter notes, know how to read anything. We're going to get back there.
But using what they already know.
And the only reason why I do that is because I have done the whole, hey, we got to start from the beginning. And usually people, not just kids, even adults, teenagers that come in and can play that stuff, if you hit them with a quarter note page that goes, and say, hey, this is vitally important, they lose interest.
Right.
They're like, well, I can do that in my sleep. Well, probably, maybe, we don't know. But if I put a page in front of you, you don't even know how to read it. You don't even know what's what. And let me just start with what you're already good at, so that you don't feel like I'm belittling you, and so that it's still fun. Because this music is art, and it should be fun. It shouldn't be boring. You shouldn't come here and like, I gotta play quarter notes again. You should come in like, yo, I can't wait to have my lesson.
This should be an exciting experience.
Yeah, so
that's very true.
Just meet your student where they're at.
Stixx teaches drums here at UpRock Studios, and he is our featured teacher for this month of February. So if you'd like to learn how to play drums, then come and sign up with Stixx today. But now let's turn our attention to something else. When it comes to being a performer, seeking out an audience to perform for is a very regular thing. However, some people experience extreme difficulty when trying to find even the smallest gig. Now, luckily, there are places that welcome performers of many types to strut their stuff and show off what they got. One such place is the open mic. Now, for those of you that don't know, an open mic is an event which allows people to sign up to perform something. Typically, this is music, but as we're going to hear, that's not always the case. To gain more of an understanding for how this whole community works, I'm going to be stopping in at different open mic sessions around town. For my first stop, I only had to go right across the street from our studio here to get to Bar 101. They have their open mic night every Wednesday night, and it's actually hosted by our very own Grayson Roberts. I recently spoke with Grayson, as well as one of the performers from the open mic night at Bar 101, named Eric, to gain some of their perspective on the matter. Let's have a listen. So we have here Eric Jezior. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Jezior. And Grayson.
Hey,
of course.
How you doing?
Grayson is the host of the Wednesday night open mic session over at Bar 101 across the street.
Yes, I am.
And Eric is a regular performer there.
Yeah, going on about a year and a half now. Or
Yeah,
so.
at least.
Just about.
Pretty consistent, too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, so how long have you been doing open mics in general?
About that long. Bar 101 was actually the first open mic I performed at on the stage.
Very cool.
Wasn't the first open mic I went to, but yeah.
Do you remember what that one was?
Oh, yes. It was Shady Coffee and Tea, and the timing of this interview is really interesting regarding that specific day.
Why is that?
Because last night, I spent the night at an album release party for one of my friends, J.R. de Guzman. released
okay.
his comedy album, Dual Citizen, just the other day. It's number one on iTunes now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I met him there. That first open mic attempt. I kind of got there a little bit late. Saw the sign up sheet, and I read about how there were some rules regarding profanity and whatnot.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And it was like it's actually it just so turned out to be one of the best open mics around, in that it has a culture and it has a lot of attentive listeners, and I was like experiencing that, and I was like, oh, this is way too heavy for me right
it's
now.
a
I'm
very
just gonna
established crowd.
I'm gonna try to settle in as best I can, but so I saw him do his set there, and I was like,
This was last night.
This is a year and a half ago when I met him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I saw his set, and I was like, what? Like, this is free. Like, this guy's really good. And I was just tell him I liked his set, And so I did, and ended up becoming friends, hanging out till 4 a.m, talking about the whole, comedy versus music
Yeah.
path,
and
as it were.
He came by. I remember him specifically.
Right.
Coming by. I think I actually had him do a little feature spot at the open mic.
At
Probably
Bar 101.
At Bar 101, yeah, probably about that long ago, maybe even longer. And to see how well he's doing now is just so amazing. And that's kind of, as a host, I've been doing
Right.
this for like over 4
It's
years.
been a while. Yeah, I remember going regularly. Goodness,
Mhm.
4 years ago.
Yeah, when doing the jazz group thing.
Right.
And it is very cool to see guys like this who I remember when he was talking about, man, I just wish I'll have this album out someday, and I'm doing this, and I'm working
now
hard.
it's doing
and
very
then
well.
years later, it's like, whoa, he's literally doing really well.
Right.
I would love to have him come in here and do a little talk.
How
someday.
many types of people like that do you see that just you get to watch their entire career unfold, starting at the open mic level?
It's a lot, actually. I
Is
mean,
it?
I could rattle off a few people, and then you just you see them land in bands later.
Right.
What's that? Tim. He was from a band, this punk band that
Okay.
used to roll through. I probably shouldn't actually totally name drop people. But and then a couple other guys and just players that come through, because every now and then we do some jams. So
Sure.
you just see this shredding guitar player show up just out of nowhere. Or I remember this guy was just from out of town on a little tour and popped in and just laid down a killer set. Some really cool covers, and you just get to meet a vast array of artists. And I've even had people, we have a friend who comes by and she does little poetry readings. And people do some just cool spoken word.
Yeah.
And
So it's more
hip-hop
than
and
just music.
It's more than just music.
And you get a lot of
It's-
different types of music also.
Yeah.
Singer-songwriters,
Yeah.
hip-hop guys.
I've even had a ventriloquist come through.
Oh, wow.
Do a comedy routine before.
How was that?
Really interesting.
Okay.
Definitely off the cuff. Kind of. Do you ever see him come through?
No,
He had 3 or 4
interesting.
characters, and yeah, like I said, you get to meet just so many different types of people.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's all just
Yeah, that's what keeps it fresh
for the open
me.
mic.
For the
Right.
open mic, yeah.
Right. And it's still just as fresh as it's always been, huh?
Yeah, it's-
Always people,
It's
new people coming
it's
in.
kind of mixed bag every time.
Yeah.
You don't quite know what's gonna happen. You're
Mhm.
gonna have this different crowd. You're
Yeah,
gonna
I
have
mean, it
this
has its
different
ups-
set.
Yeah, it has its
Right.
ups and downs, but
Yeah, and oh goodness, the crowd. I mean, the crowd is different every time as well.
Yeah, totally.
Sometimes there are what we would consider good nights where there's a huge crowd, or bad
Mhm.
nights where you're just playing for the other performers,
but that's
which-
not so bad.
which is not so bad. Turns
Sometimes
out
it can
is
be
not so
intimate,
bad.
and
Yeah,
it's a good networking opportunity. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes those ones feel the best when it's just people who are going to appreciate it, as opposed to people who are there for other reasons, just
Yeah,
being
You
loud.
just feel a little more comfortable. I
Yeah.
mean, you can attest to that.
Yeah.
Eric.
Yeah. To be honest, that one of the most significant parts. I mean, there's 2 primary benefits to running the open mics regularly, like I've done. One is performance experience. It's valuable. There's
Mhm.
kind of only one way to get it.
Yeah.
And the other is networking with other musicians.
Sure.
Really, it's just how you kind of get out there and meet people and grow your project, really,
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
all ways.
It's a good opportunity to meet
It's a
other
social
other
thing.
people who, socially, connect with other people who are, who share the same passions as as yourself, who think similarly to you.
Yeah, we're in an area where there's a lot of local people doing this, and going to an open mic is a great way. It's just good to know that, I'm not alone. There's a lot of people expressing themselves and looking for these outlets, and networking and sharing that is a great way to just feel all the more better about it. So, yeah, very cool.
Well, so could each of you share like a really good night versus a really bad night? Like, what was Grayson? What was like a really good night over at Bar 101?
Oh wow.
If you had to pick just like one, whichever one pops out, because I'm sure there have been
Yeah,
many.
there's a couple that come to mind. I've just got to pick between them. So there was a he was a hip hop artist. He was doing some recording with one of our engineers, and Devin Wright was another one.
Oh, Devin Wright, yes.
Yeah. So I would probably have to pick the Devin Wright show.
That was a good one.
I don't remember when exactly the date was. I just remember he showed up with the band, which wasn't typical for him, but at that time he was starting to play with Ori, if you remember him.
Oh, of course.
Old friend of ours. Shout outs. Yeah, they just did a great job rocking it. They had somebody sit in. I think Sam Plecker sat in that night.
Of course.
Yeah, he's playing with Vista Kicks, and it was just really, really great. A lot of other guys showed up, and it was just full. And we had to extend the open mic like an hour, and it was just people were just hanging out and buying food, and nights like that are just like magical, and just everyone just gets along, and it's just fun.
I just want to take this moment to say tip your bartenders.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Bar 101, thank you so much. You always take care of everybody.
That's great. Well, so Eric, could you share a good night that you've had?
Well, I feel like I covered it a bit in this kind of poetic piece I wrote on just sort of the mindset of the kind of regular open micer, and kind of how that, the to and fro, the ebb and flow,
Sure,
as it were.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Well, could you share that with us?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Cool.
And it culminates in a little bit of my take on music and why I do music as well. Well, yeah, you wake up, it's open mic day. You got it kind of planned out. So you tune your guitar, you jump in the car, and you check and make sure your conviction's still there, and you start hitting those bars. More likely than not, on stage, you inevitably think to yourself, "Are they paying attention?" Most of the time, not particularly. You're usually left to your own devices up there. It's comforting, though, that lack of scrutiny, but ultimately it's somewhat less than satisfying. Even so, you're out there and you're doing it, cutting your teeth. Live performance experience makes you a better player, a better person. Maybe you meet some musicians. Their ears are open sometimes. Later in the week, you try something different. A coffee shop, young crowd, too young, looking for something more alive than a cell phone screen. Take to the stage, and this time they're paying attention. The artist-listener relationship washes over you all at once, and you feel it like a weight on your soul. You're communicating, and at least one of those kids is hanging on your every word. The pressure begins to constrict your vocal cords, and you have to decide how you're going to handle that. Do you avoid it? Just do your thing, get it over with? You feed on it, get a little theatrical, play with their emotions a little bit. Maybe get that mid-song applause. That's one of the good ones. Depends. Why are you there? If you ask me, I guess I've always felt like I've had something real to say, something critical, honest, about love, society, depression, hardship, about the way the world just seems to work. I get a little tired of how fake everything is all the time. When I write and when I perform, I want to cry out to others who might be feeling the same way, share some of my emotional experiences that might resonate with them or help bring peace to some aspect of their lives, even if all it really amounts to is a fleeting distraction. I want to expose the world for what it is, how ugly it is, how beautiful it is. I just want the truth so I know what I'm dealing with. Most people listen just so they can say the next word. I try to do the opposite. That's how I learned music and became the songwriter I am today.
That was very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed that. It really puts it into perspective, I would say. It really, really does.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like I can definitely relate and resonate with a lot of how you said those things,
Thank you.
Well, like which parts?
The experience itself is it's a poetic experience, so it needed a little bit of that delivery to flesh out really kind of how it does feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and specifically pointing out, the are they listening? Do they care? some of them are half-heartedly listening, and then that moment where you capture a few people,
Yeah.
and then they're just like blown away. I mean,
Right.
I've seen people like get so up in arms and in the moment with an open micer perform that they're just like, oh my God, can I buy you a drink? That was amazing. Do you have an album? I just have to listen to more.
Yeah, those are good moments.
Yeah, those are great moments. I
Right.
can
When someone
absolutely-
actually cares.
Yeah, you know,
And it's all finally worth it.
And-
and a thought of that I think can touch on just being a performer in a more general sense
and
too,
the
you know?
weight of being that honest in front of people, and then the weight of those compliments. Sometimes it's like it just sometimes it can mean a lot when
Yeah,
someone
it's
just
like
comes up to you
affirmation, like, yeah,
and it's like,
yeah.
well, I really enjoyed that, and then you think too the next time you see someone else performing up there, I know what it feels like to get that real compliment.
And then I can give that gift of the
Exactly,
compliment 'cause I know what
exactly.
it
Like
means.
why? Like, it's just why would I be stingy about that? Because I know what
Yeah.
that is.
Mhm.
now.
Absolutely, you know, and I think that's a lot of what people are looking for is that support. You know, why else would you go out? You know, you're looking
Want
for
to be
something.
understood.
You want to be understood. You're looking for other people that speak your language, so to speak.
Right.
And,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of speaking someone else's language, segues are my specialty. I love segues. But speaking of speaking other people's language, the other night after the open mic
Mhm.
here at Bar 101 across the street, everyone came back here and we all hung out for a while and jammed a little bit. And we have some of the recording of us jamming, so we'll close this whole thing with listening to a little bit of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Eric Jezior, I am saying that right?
Oh, yes,
Jezior?
sir.
Okay, cool. Jezior. All right, and Grayson Roberts.
Yeah,
Thank you both for coming in and talking to me.
Thank you.
yeah, thanks.
And that will do it for today. You can stay up to date with what we're doing around here by following UpRock Studios on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just as well, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to receive instant notifications when these podcasts are uploaded. My name is Dom Salazar-Turner. This is the UpRock Podcast, and thank you for listening.